right, Danny Raffle.
I lost.
Raffle. What nationality is Raffle?
I don't know. It's just some made up name.
Well, what nationality are you?
I was born in Hollywood and raised in the San Fernando Valley. I
Really?
don't know what that makes me.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess European is where the family's from. Somewhere,
Hmm.
somewhere on the Pale, somewhere.
All right. Danny Raffle, thanks for being here. It's great to
Sure.
have you. I know that it seemed like you were thinking is there going to be anything really interesting that you're going to want to talk about? But it seems like you already came up with some stuff, which is nice. So I'm interested in hearing whatever you have to say.
Okay.
But let's start by saying this. So, Danny, you're with RPM Commercial. So, really, it's property management. And so, is that what you tell? Well, you tell me more what you do. But I know when I think of
Yeah.
you, I think of you a lot like for property management, commercial leasing, that kind of thing. But tell me, what's your area of specialty? What do you want to share?
Yeah. My area of specialty started with managing family property when I was in business with my dad, and then I helped manage the property. So I've only been doing this full time for the last 23 years.
That's it.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I sold out the business and decided I wanted a cushy job where I could just sit back and relax. So I went to work for some firms in the Valley, started RPM, had a sidetrack with another firm where I headed up sales and the management team.
Mm-hmm.
So my background was more in investments, working with clients, working with my investing in properties, managing them, and then leasing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I got started. So over the years, I've picked up clients, I've helped them kind of asset management, but in real estate. We look at a
Mm-hmm.
portfolio or whatever they have. How do we invest it? Do we buy a property? We'll manage it. We'll handle the leasing. So it's kind of full service.
Oh, nice.
My background is more on the financial side. So it's looking at everything we're doing. So we, for example, one of my first clients was my CPA, and he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Find me an apartment building." And this was in 2007,
Uh-huh.
and as spent about a year going from Santa Monica to Laguna, finding exactly what they wanted. And during that time, for some reason, the market fell apart. We were able to buy a beautiful building that was originally on the market for 4 million for just over three.
Mm-hmm.
And after we bought it, he says, "You're managing it, right?"
Oh, by the way.
By the way, it's an apartment building. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm managing it. So since 2008, we've been managing it. The building's in Santa Monica. It wasn't under rent control. Now it is. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
California. Um, and the building's probably worth 8 million today.
Oh, nice.
They paid it off. They own it free and clear, and it's a great little 6 unit. They're all townhouses, built. So it's a nice little unit. So I try to stay away from the residential side, but
Mm-hmm.
as I pick up clients, we've got this great, retail building, which a lot of what I was doing was retail and industrial, and we also have a house that mom had.
Mm-hmm.
So we end up managing both.
Uh-huh.
So we'll manage. People get older. A lot of my clients, average age, I've got clients. My biggest client's 95, still very
Uh-huh.
active,
Wow.
and but it's challenging and a lot of mixed use industrial retail with residential. I don't manage all her. She has her own little company that for
Mm-hmm.
managing the residential. But so over the years, I've picked up a little bit of a little bit of everything. Um, so I have an industrial building, for sale. We just sold. I've got a piece of land in Las Vegas. Not
Mm-hmm.
only am I in El Segundo in the South Bay, but I have an office in Las Vegas.
Oh, well, great.
Kind of picked up. We had a building there, and then I picked up a whole bunch of properties during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So
Awesome.
I'm running all over. Got a lot going. More than I wanted to do. So I think I'm working harder now than I did 30 years ago. But
Right. It goes that way sometimes because
yeah,
get
it's
kind of
good.
into that.
It's good. So you had asked about stories, and it's funny, Scott.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. We start with why I'm here, but
Sure.
we met through Provisors, and you are a dynamic source. I mean, one of the things about real estate is there's a lot of good agents. And what I saw is about 10%, I think, on residential and commercial are really great. And they're dynamic, and they probably do about 90% of the business. Maybe not, but it's, and
A
they're the
lot
best.
of them.
I had a stint at Coldwell Banker for a year, and I saw the same 10 agents out of the 100 in the office, and they were there till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night working. And you have to, so if you're not working and you're not doing it, you don't have a great crew behind you, you can work really hard. But so that's what I'm trying to do, is build a great crew of people. But
Absolutely.
Scott, you've done a phenomenal job. I have high respect for you. If I needed anything in the Valley, I call you, which I think I did last year.
Yes, you did.
I have a point with a retail, center that we manage. And by the way, I've got these 3 parcels of land on a hill in Sherman Oaks. I just need you to pay the bills. And then there's a problem. Gee, the whole hill is which is almost at a, 60-degree angle, or, it's horrible, and there's water runoff, and it needs to be cleaned up. And, I'm looking at it. So I asked you, I'm thinking maybe we sell it. So I call you, and, you were right on it, and looked at it and go, here's what it's worth. And I'm going, oh my God. So almost a year later, we're just hired somebody that fortunately, I'm just working with the guy and paying the bills, but they got a bid for almost probably just to shore it up and get it clean now until the next big rains. And it's like $400,000.
Holy moly.
One bid was over $1 million. Nobody wants the job because you can't get to it from above, and below it, there's somebody's driveway and then their house.
Right.
So they've
What
got to
about
get
the liability associated with that?
Yeah. And guess what? There is no insurance for this. So, God forbid something happened on that respect. So it's got to be taken care of. And so they finally got it all approved. And, but it's, it's challenging. So
Yeah.
are we going into, you want another story or?
Yeah. Well, I remember when I saw that, when I drove up and I was looking around and I just couldn't, I was trying to make sense of what it was. I said, is that really, that's a house down there that there's where the street comes up and it looks like the street's starting to drop out. I thought, this is a scary place. And it's like, Danny, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I don't think this is for me. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah. I think you gave me the name of a guy that sells land.
And this particular guy, I can sell land if it's very straightforward. And I do. Let's say there's 10,000 feet in Studio City, a flat, easy. That's me all day long. But this is so complicated, so many moving pieces. I thought, you know what? The only way to really do right by you is to get you someone who knows more about this than I do. And so I really hope it works out. I really like the guy I referred you to.
Yeah. So that's that. So yeah, it's funny. As I was talking to you today, I just picked up a new management account. One of my clients that was managing his own property in the Valley, a little retail center. And he's like, he's getting to where he's too old to be dealing with this stuff. So he's like, handle that one. He had another automotive center that I sold for him last year. This center, retail center. So I take over, and it's a 4 tenant center, and there's a restaurant bar, and the tenant is always paying his rent late, or he was, I'm like, I need you to pay your rent. So we hadn't met. So I needed to tour the property. So I go over, and he's got the restaurant bar, and he took over the space next door, which used to be Alcoholics Anonymous.
Wait, next to a bar?
Next to a bar. So he took it over, and I walked him about a few weeks ago. He wasn't there, and there's a little, like 14 by 10 office and a wall. And I'm like, where's the rest of the space? So, first I go in, and so I'm meeting with him, and he wants to lower the rent. He goes, the rent's too high. I need to lower the rent next door, and I'm thinking about selling it. But I said, well, can I look at the rest of the suite? So we open up the door, and the walls it looks like a refrigerator in there. It's all aluminum. There's these weird lights and electrical. Nothing is to code. I don't know what they've done. They put in these split units. So I'm like, what is all this? And he's going, oh, well, I'm thinking about tearing down the wall and adding onto the restaurant. which is why I need the rent to come down, because if I can lower the rent, then I can build out and put another 250,000 in. Okay, but what is this electrical panel and these lights? I said, none of this is to code. I said, I'm going to have a problem with the insurance company, which is the
No
biggest part
doubt.
we're having
Yeah.
today. Insurance are off the wall. Oh, well, we can take it down if we need to. So I'm walking through, I'm looking at it, I'm going, and he keeps going back to he wants to sell it. Well, he wants the rent reduced so it'll bring him more value on the sale of the restaurant. But then he's giving me a different story about building out this suite. So
So how did it all wrap up? I mean,
how did it all wrap up? He's like, well, he wanted it. I said, let me talk to the owner. And I'm looking at it, and the owner had already told me he thought what was being used in the past. So I said, look, why, if you're trying to lower your rent, I said, why don't you get rid of this suite? You got this whole big giant vacant thing here that whatever you've done, and you've got a little desk in the front part. Why don't you put that in the restaurant and you can save $2,000 on your rent? We'll lease this out. Oh, okay. And he had the gal there that's, I think, running the restaurant, which is basically a bar.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, so we went and walked through it. But as I'm walking out, I'm going, well, what happened to the pot guy that was here before? Because he said it was just empty. He never used it. He goes, oh, he moved out a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd been illegally subleasing to a pot guy. So what do I deal with as a property manager? The guy's talking out of both sides of his mouth, and he just wants to get his rent reduced.
Right.
And please help me. But he's totally, taken a space and, turned it from A to Z. There's nothing, it's got to be totally gutted and leased out and, fixed up. So those are things I kind of deal with on when you're dealing with tenants sometimes that don't have management looking out for the space, and it's just they do whatever they want. So
Right. Well, I thought it was interesting. You've got a bar, you've got the marijuana, and then you've got a Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, well, they moved out, and that's where he put the pod people in.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Do you have any other stories you want to share?
A lot of them I don't think I can share.
You don't have to mention any names.
Yeah, no, like your stories, I haven't walked into suites and seen anything funny going on.
Some of the things I've seen. It's just
yeah.
Let's do this. That's totally fine. Let's go. Do you have any charity or any cause that is close to your heart you'd like to share? Maybe shed some light on.
I do, and it's actually a charity that I don't know where to start. I'll start with I'm now on the board of directors of the Help Group, which is in Sherman Oaks. They're a school for autistic and children with learning disabilities. It's an amazing group. I've actually worked for them for a number of years, handling leasing for them. They have another school in Culver City, and they actually bought the Culver City Hospital, turned it into a school, but there was a medical building that the doctors were using, and they couldn't use it for the school, so they still lease it out for medical use. So that's how I started working for them. Behind the school, there was a piece of property that had a house on it, and it was the one parcel that didn't complete the school. So it was an acre with a 1920 house. So I helped them buy it. They wanted it, overpaid for it. And during COVID, with the school and the budgeting and the money that wasn't coming in, they decided to sell it. So I sold it to a group, basically for what they paid for it. I get a call, and our mayor had put in that new, we can take residential and turn it into multifamily. The house is at Ethel off of Burbank. Okay. It's a residential area, and it backs up half of the properties in a cul-de-sac. During she'd signed a note. The mayor had signed something that she rescinded, but it basically said you could build multifamily anywhere. So in a little cul-de-sac street with beautiful homes, they got permitted to build a 7-story apartment complex.
What? Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, look at the area, and it's like, what? There's no parking.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a cul-de-sac in with beautiful residential homes. It's literally right at Ethel and I forgot the cross street. It's just south.
What is it zone though? I mean, how could you even get away with that?
Because they changed the zoning for about a month, and during that time they were able to jump in and grab it because she signed
Wow.
something that said you could build multifamily and residential, and it didn't
Wow.
specify. They originally was like on main streets, like on Burbank would have been fine. This was actually on a side street on Ethel, and so I got called. So in the meantime, I'm now on the board
Mm-hmm.
working that what can we do to help deal with this situation. But it's that's not yeah, that it is a nightmare story because the neighbors are in an uproar.
Oh, I
uh,
would be.
yeah, there was another residential broker that said, look, we got together with the neighbors, we'll buy the property for $1 million more than they paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, we're going to build our 7-story building.
How did they get it cleared so quickly within that short window of time?
I don't know. They got their permits in. Again, we saw the presentation today about the whole building, getting your permits in and getting to it. And of course, they all the neighbors and there's lawsuits, and now they want us to come up with some kind of bond to keep
Mm-hmm.
this going, which is going to be difficult.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so yeah, it's really challenging. But yeah, I love working with the group. The problem, one of the other issues is they're going to build this 7-story building, and there's a school for autistic children, and their playground is literally right there. So they're going to be while they're building and constructing, and the noise, and it's going to be really difficult for the children. Besides all the residential neighbors, I mean, just for the
Right.
school, it's horrible. And it was an acre of land. It was zoned for you could put a couple of houses there,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we thought when we sold it. So, you know,
Well,
fortunately, it
sounds
involved
like
me. Yeah,
a lot of people are pissed off.
yeah. So I mean, that is hell. I mean, it's for especially living there. I mean, it's like
Hmm.
how they did this in somebody's backyard. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I think that's I predict that's going to take a long time to be made or to be built, even if at all. I can't imagine they're going to be able to get away with it, but we'll see. Who knows?
city's still behind them, the
Oh
building,
wow.
and
They're just
yeah.
backing up. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and they're basically saying, well, if we want to keep it open and not just walk away, we've got to come up with an $800,000 bond.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to come up with four, and all the neighbors have to get together just to keep this in litigation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's all playing out, but it's LA cities. It's really challenging. I mean, you deal with, on the residential side, but this is so unusual. So.
Right. Well, this one sounds like a definite slice of hell. Thank you. And see, now you wrapped it up nicely.
Yeah.